May the words of my mouth and the meditation of our hearts be always faithful and acceptable in your sight, O Lord, our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. At one level, this Palm Passion Sunday has a bit of a roller coaster effect to it. Merely 5 minutes ago, we were waving palms and singing, "Hosanna, Hosanna, here comes the King." And then in a few short moments, we're hearing of Jesus' death and the silence that comes with that news. But there is a constant theme to these readings and the Gospel of Mark, and that is, who is Jesus? Throughout the Gospel, it's a constant question, and those few times when a demon or Peter or someone begins to sort of utter that you are the Messiah, Jesus' response is always, "Shh, don't tell anyone." It is this messianic secret of which we speak in the Gospel of Mark, that throughout the whole Gospel, Jesus is not allowing it to come up even when people actually start to put it together a little bit. And we understand why, in part because they never really get what it is they're saying. Even as he's riding triumphantly into Jerusalem, this notion of Jesus as the Messiah, the one who's going to restore the throne of David. What the crowds, the mob understands and thinks is that he's the one who's going to be restoring the throne of David, the political kingdom of Israel, kicking the Romans out and restoring the glory days of the past. And yet it does not materialize, and we understand and know that that is not and was not ever to be the type of Messiah who Jesus was. And throughout sort of the chapters that we skipped around Jesus' arrest and the early part of the trial, this question of who is Jesus keeps coming up again. Jesus fails to respond, and even when we get to the point where Pilate asks him and says, "Are you the King of the Jews?" Jesus just tosses it back onto Pilate and says, "You say so." And then things continue to keep building. Jesus is betrayed, and people, his friends and followers, are dropping away. And Jesus is scourged and crucified on the cross. And in that moment of death, in that moment of the last mortal breath, the centurion, an outsider, almost like a Greek chorus looking in on this whole play, says shortly and succinctly and declaratively, "Truly, this man was God's Son." It is a question that you and I have to ask ourselves. Who do we believe that Jesus was and is? Granted, it is a question that we answer every time that we recite the Nicene Creed. I believe in Jesus Christ, the Son of God. But it is insufficient for us to answer that question simply here in this space at this time. The question for us is, how do we live our life? What does it mean to us when we say Jesus is the Son of God? For if we believe or act as if Jesus is simply a rabbi or good teacher or wise man, then all that Jesus taught is simply something that we can choose to follow or not, depending on whether we think this happens to be one of the good, wise things that he said. And if not, we can discount it like we've discounted all kinds of other things that teachers of ours have said along the way. But if we acknowledge and want to live out the truth that Jesus was the Son of God, then the authority and the weight of the words that Jesus taught and the way in which Jesus lived has a completely different impact on our lives. When Jesus talked about the relationship between money and us, how is it then that if we say Jesus is the Son of God, we treat our money? How is it we treat the poor or the immigrants or those who are different because of skin color or sexuality or whatever else? When Jesus says that we are to forgive not 7 times, but 70 times 7 times, do you and I really understand that to mean that the people who have been awful to us, the people who have hurt us the most time and time again, we are still supposed to forgive? How is it that you and I understand that when Jesus says the words that we'll hear during the Easter season prior to his ascension, go into the world and preach the good news to all people, be witnesses of the resurrection? Do we take that as a charge from God? That when we go forth from this place, we share our belief and our faith with other people, understanding that that means for us to be vulnerable and risk who knows how they will respond. If Jesus is the Son of God, then you and I have to approach the words and the life that Jesus lived in a completely different and life-transforming sort of way. We need to understand that Jesus' words, where they are countercultural, that we are to follow Jesus' words and not the culture. And the flip side of the coin, if Jesus is the Son of God, then all the promises that we hear Jesus offer us, all the things that Jesus has said to us, that Jesus came into the world that we might have life and have it abundantly, that his joy might be our joy and that it might be complete, that we might look at the lilies of the field and care and see how God cares for the sparrows and know that God cares for us even more, that we are not to worry about tomorrow. That Jesus said, peace, peace be with you. That Jesus said, I have come to prepare a place for you with my Father, and where I go, there you will be also. If Jesus were simply a rabbi or a teacher, then we might wonder to what degree we can believe and trust in all of these promises. But if we believe Jesus is the Son of God, then these promises are words that we can trust even more than the fact the sun will rise tomorrow. We can live a life of peace and grace and trust. We can live with the confidence that no matter the stupidest, worst thing that we have ever done, that if we turn to God and say, God, I am sorry, forgive me, please, welcome me back into your good graces, God will already say to us, I've been waiting here for you. Thank you for coming back. We live out this octet of Holy Week, these 8 days to walk in the path of Jesus, so that we might proclaim and hear again and say yet one more time, truly, this man was God's Son. And that when we get to Sunday morning to proclaim the resurrection, we might be emboldened with conviction and commitment and confidence to go out into the world to be witnesses of that new life of resurrection, living a life that demonstrates in word and deed the radical and life-transforming truth that this man, Jesus of Nazareth, was the Son of God.